The March 11th, 2024 regular city council meeting is called to order. The time is 6 p.m. Council, before we begin, please put away cell phones. If you've got personal business during the meeting, please move for a recess. If you are participating telephonically, please mute your phone unless you are speaking. Also, when speaking, please state your name for those streaming the meeting. As a reminder to attendees, this meeting is being streamed live. The camera is located in the back of the council chambers above the clock. Robert's Rules of Order is the parliamentary authority for council meetings under Wasilla Municipal Code 2.04.090. Under this authority, I respectfully request council observe the following. Kindly seek recognition before speaking. That no member speaks more than twice on the same motion without an affirmative vote on a motion to suspend the rules. That no member speaks a second time until everyone who wishes to do so has spoken once. The purpose of recognizing these rules is to ensure the right to speak is equally respected and that discussion is not dominated. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Graham?
Here.
Councilmember Johnson?
Here.
Councilmember Crafton?
Here.
Councilmember Rubio?
Here.
Councilmember Vlock, are you online? Madam Mayor, you do have a quorum. Councilmembers Graham, Johnson, and Crafton are with us in chambers. Councilmember Rubio is telephonic. Councilmember Vlock is absent and excused unless objection is raised, and council seat A is vacant.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Councilmember Graham, would you lead us?
It will be my honor, Madam Mayor. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. The first item of business is approval of the agenda. Are there changes to the agenda? Mr. Graham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Let me get my paper out here. I would like to pull AM 2412, item 8.4.1, and IM 2405, which is item 11.1.1. It's a new business.
Okay. Are there any other changes? Hearing none, is there an objection to the motion? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as amended. We are now at special orders of the day. Since there are no items scheduled under special orders of the day, commission and agency reports or public hearings, we'll move directly to persons to be heard. We are now at persons to be heard, a time for members of the public to share their views with the council. This is not a question and answer period or a time for dialogue. Speakers may be referred to administration, or issues raised may be taken under advisement by the council or administration. And the first one is Eileen Falkenstein. Please begin your testimony by stating your first and last name. Comments are limited to 3 minutes.
Eileen Falkenstein, representing Wasilla Area Seniors Incorporated. Good evening, Madam Mayor, council, audience. Normally I'm here to ask for support, donations. WASI's always needing those kind of things. Tonight I'd just like to give you a couple instances of what WASI did to help our seniors during the recent cold snap. Several seniors in the Houston area were left without heat and in dire need of fuel to warm their cabins. WASI was able to provide both warmth and assistance. The Mid-Valley Senior Center and Janai Robinson, the program manager for adult daycare services, facilitated heating fuel assistance through a senior and disability service, senior and home services grant. Another example involves a senior veteran referred to us by the Alaska Warrior Partnership, who was found to be living alone lacking in companionship and struggling to prepare adequate meals. He confided in the Alaska Warrior Partnership Team, revealing the distressing reality of sometimes going days without eating due to lack of interest and the fear of starvation. Through the collaborative efforts of the Alaska Warrior Partnership and WASI, the veteran was enrolled in Meals on Wheels, a lifeline that brought him nourishment and renewed hope. Jesse from the Alaska Warrior Program was deeply moved when the veteran reached out to express his gratitude after receiving his first Meals on Wheels meal, underscoring the impact of our collective efforts on the lives of those that we serve. Adult Protective Services alerted WASI to an 86-year-old senior in distress in the Sheep Creek area who had been unsuccessful in receiving assistance from local organizations. Our board member, Brenda Sheldon, sprang into action and reached out to Luann Carroll Teasdale of the Upper Susitna Food Pantry, who readily stepped in to fulfill basic needs, including heat, gas, and food, despite temperatures plummeting to 30 degrees below zero. So that's just a little bit of what WASI does for our community and our seniors that do need help. And instead of asking for donations, I just wanted to show you where your support does go and to thank you. And as WASI says, together we can make a difference. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Eileen. Jeannie Trzynski.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Jeannie Troshinsky, President of the Friends of Wasilla Library. We've had some great events going on. In February, we had Blind Date with a Book. This program's been going on for about 10 years, and you can check out a book that's wrapped in brown paper, and you get to be surprised at what book you get to read. If you spend at least 10 minutes with your blind date, you are eligible to enter our drawings, and the Friends provided several gift certificates. 150 people participated in the program. It's really popular. It's a lot of work for the library staff because they have to kind of put a label on the outside of the book with so they can check it out to people. And anyway, as one librarian said to me, there would be a huge uprising if we ever got rid of the program because our readers love it and ask about it so much. This past week, we had our Firelight Book Club read Denali's Howl. It's a book about the biggest climbing accident on Mount McKinley, Denali. Unbeknownst to us, one of our members on the Friends had climbed Denali twice, and so it was really enlightening to have his perspective at the book club. And it's always fun in Alaska when you talk about an Alaska book because there's always people that know people in the book, and it's just such a great experience. So anyway, that was really positive. For February 29th, for Leap Day, the young people's group, the All Stars, had a gentleman came who brought a bunch of frogs. And this group is for 9 to 12-year-olds. It's called the All-Star Thursday group, and they had so much fun with the frogs, as you can imagine. That was a great event. We just had Brooke Hartman, who is a local writer. We had a story walk event with her on March 2nd. She is a phenomenal children's writer. And her book, All Aboard the Alaska Train, is so much fun. It's in the story walk now. Despite the wind's efforts to blow, 20 to 40 miles an hour, and the wind, the temperature's about 5 degrees, and my husband and I arguing all morning whether he should really put it in because he didn't know if it was worth taking his life into his own hands. But he prevailed and he got it in. But anyway, it was a great event. We had a treat that the kids made where they built their own little train out of graham crackers. It was super fun. We had about 30 people at that event. We're having about 500 people a day through the door now, and that's got the staff a little worried because this is a little early in the year for our numbers to be spiking already. Usually this is our quiet time of the year. We've just got so many great things going on, and I guess I'll talk on part 2, 3 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeannie. Jackie, go forth. Please begin your testimony by stating your first and last name. Comments are limited to 3 minutes.
Madam Mayor and City Council, my name is Jackie Goforth. I'm here to exercise my First Amendment right to redress a grievance. And my grievance is about the public-funded library with the government, and that is you. There are books in the Wasilla Library, in the young adult section, that have obscene sexual content. It is hidden between the covers, exactly like Devin Helkenberg said at the American Library Association funded conference last March in Fairbanks. She said that the books are meant to sexualize children 12 years and up without the knowledge of their parents because the content would be hidden between the covers. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what it says. Now, I'm not just speaking to you and your staff, and I'm not speaking to just librarians and attorneys. I'm speaking to everyone in Wasilla and the Mat-Su Valley, parents, grandparents, and anyone else who should know exactly what's hidden between the covers of these books. It's content being targeted to minor children, and it's not Catcher in the Rye or Kill a Mockingbird type material. This is material that is obscene. The book I'm speaking of tonight is identical. This book entices and glamorizes subjects like pedophilia. It has literal child porn in it with a 9-year-old and her father. It has drug and alcohol abuse, sadomasochism, self-harm, delinquency, and suicide, attempted suicide. This is not a book that helps children of abuse situations. The only time this protagonist actually gets help is when she attempts suicide. How is that of help to anybody in this situation? In fact, it has an entire supraliminal agenda going also. This book has the word sex and a sex act in it over 85 times. It has death and darkness and graves in it over 60 times. The amount of times it has prayer in it and the Lord is 0. You know, I just read today that most sexual crimes against school-age children is perpetrated by educators. Is that true? I don't know, I haven't researched it yet, but I'm going to. Look what happened last Friday at Diamond High in Anchorage. In case you haven't noticed, the teacher at fault, who was trying to show off his genitalia in a skirt, was escorted off by security and is now on leave. Is this what we want? Is this what we want for our children? By the way, if anyone is thinking my arm is karma, it's not. I fell last year and I tore my rotator cuff and my bicep. And I waited to do the surgery until I could get certain things done because I wanted both hands. So, I really don't care what people think of me, however. I really don't. And I really don't care if it's coming from a leftist, liberal, progressive, socialist Marxist who employs social shunning, shaming, ridicule, and mocking on platforms. I really don't care what they think of me. The reason I speak out right now is because the vast majority of Wasilla residents will not allow their children to be subject to sexualization, gender confusion, and everything else, and we detest pedophiles. Thank you.
Okay, Karen Lewis. Okay. Please begin your testimony by stating your first and last name. Comments are limited to 3 minutes.
Madam Mayor and City Council, my name is Karen Lewis, and we really do have to do something about the books that are within our libraries. Not sure what yet, but I'm sure that before this will be taken care of. I don't know if it's going to take a while or what, but there's a whole pack of these. This is only about half of it. I was pulling this down today to see what legislation throughout the United States. There's over 100. Each page represents one act, one bill from different states. And like I said, this is only half the stack. I only went through it. I'm going to read a little bit of it. Like in Missouri, they have a bill that prohibits the state librarian from dispersing funds to libraries that offer obscene materials to children. New Hampshire, relative to prohibiting obscene or harmful sexual materials in school. New Hampshire, relative to regulation of public school library materials. Oklahoma, schools prohibiting schools from maintaining certain books or materials. Oklahoma, crimes and punishments, adult cabaret and drag performance, making certain acts unlawful. Oklahoma, schools requiring school districts and charter schools to submit certain list of library materials, providing process for reporting violations and providing penalties. Oklahoma, child pornography, modifying definition. Tennessee, an act amend Tennessee Code. Sensitive material review in Utah. West Virginia, prohibit drag shows from being performed in front of minors to prohibit people from dressing in drag when reading aloud during story time in schools. West Virginia, removing bona fide schools, public libraries, and museums from the list of exemptions from criminal liability relating to distribution and display to minor of obscene matter. West Virginia, relating to permitting obscenity in schools. Kansas, removing an affirmative defense for public, private, and parochial schools from the crime of promotion to minors of material harmful to minors. In Indiana, material that is obscene or harmful to minors. Alaska has one too. Illinois, online age verification for minors. Idaho, adds to existing law to establish standards for library materials and to establish procedures for the review and removal of materials. Procedures for appeals and penalties for violations. So, the whole nation is on this, and we need to do something about this. Putting the adult books,
Your time is up.
It's not good enough.
there anyone
It's not good
else?
enough, Mayor. Not good enough what you're doing. Not at all.
Is anyone else in the audience that would like to speak at this time? Please begin your testimony by stating your first and last name. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Linda Sloan. To not be able to define obscenity is ridiculous. It's foolish. To not be able to define the perverted, vulgar, indecent, pornographic filth in the material we have presented to you in local libraries as obscenity is insane. Our Alaska Attorney General, Treg Taylor, defined it quite well in his November 16, 2023 letter. So let's call it addictions. Pornography is an addiction. So are drugs, alcohol, and cigarettes, all glorified in these books. Why do taxpayers have to pay for addictive material in local libraries? Addictive, obscene material is utterly without redeeming social value. We want accountability for how our tax dollars are spent. As elected officials, you have a responsibility to decide what is best for the people and the community as a whole. To promote addictive, obscene material in libraries and schools is not beneficial for our community. To leave addicted material in libraries and schools, to leave it in there, sets a precedent or guide to be considered in future scenarios. It leaves the door open for more and more and worse and worse. That is how addictions work. The addict seeks more and more and worse and worse. Where does this go in years to come? We need a resolution to have this dangerous material removed from the libraries, never to be put in local libraries or schools again. We are not taking away anyone's First Amendment freedom. This filthy content is available to whoever seeks it. We never said ban anything or burn anything. We just don't want our hard-earned tax dollars paying for it. The Marxist ideology is to have taxpayers fund to shatter traditional family values. We need leaders who will protect and unite people in a healthy atmosphere, thinking of the future of families. We all need to focus. What is truth and what is delusional? What is right and what is wrong? What is good and what is evil? Because there is light and there is darkness. We need to keep our focus. May God help us through the shed blood of Jesus. Also want to thank Councilman Johnson for the Tuttle Twins books again. Number 12, The Leviathan Crisis by Robert Higgs, a quote here. at the end of the book is, the beginning of political wisdom is the realization that despite everything you've always been taught,
Your
the
time is
government
up.
is
Thank you,
not
ma'am.
really on your side.
Your time is up.
Indeed, it is out to get you. And I had 8 seconds left, excuse me.
We are now on the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, please read the items of approval under the consent agenda by title.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We only have one item, that's the special meeting minutes, February 14, 2024.
There's more public people like you didn't ask.
There's another public session,
Why did you cut this short?
and then we are on
So
to,
this item under the consent agenda, Madam Mayor, special meeting minutes, February 14, 2024. Is there a motion to approve?
do we have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move our consent agenda as read.
Is there a second?
Graham, seconds.
It's been moved by Councilmember Crafton and seconded by Councilmember Graham to approve the consent agenda as read. Is there objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion is approved. There is no unfinished business, so we are on to new business. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. We'll take these in order unless objection is raised. First is AM number 2412, term contract task order award to CRW Engineering in the amount of $49,500 for design services for Herman Road water line extension.
Okay, is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move AM number 2412.
Second by Councilman Johnson.
It's been moved by Councilmember Graham and seconded by Councilmember Johnson. Is there discussion? Mr. Graham?
Madam Mayor, I just pulled this so we could ask one simple question about the, whether the amount of roughly $50,000 was already budgeted, or is this something that we're gonna have to bring up in the future?
Through the mayor, the fiscal note will show that it is coming out of a account that we have set aside for water tower expansion. So this was part of last year's CIP.
Great, thank you.
Is there further discussion?
So it's in budget, I'm sorry, Madam Mayor. Follow-on question, it is in budget then?
Correct. It's part of the
Thank you.
existing CIP budget.
Further discussion? Hearing none. Is there objection to the motion? Hearing none, it is passed. And Madam Clerk?
Thank you. IM number 2405, presenting the City of Wasilla budget calendar for fiscal year 2025.
Okay, is there a motion? We don't need a motion on this.
Do you want to just maybe move in committee of the whole, or I'm not sure, it's not an action item. Do you want just discussion on it, or?
All I want is just for the record to show that this is a proposed calendar, and these dates are not set in stone. I mean, currently in front of us, on my packet here today, there are 8 special meetings in the packet. So I am bringing forward an amendment to the code, which would say that if we are gonna have more than 8 special meetings a year, which has been what we've tried to adhere to in the past, that the city council will approve those meetings. So I just want this to show that these are not set in stone. The council is not approving these dates. They're just being proposed by the administration and the clerk's office.
Madam Clerk?
Well, so under existing code, special meetings are called are held at the call of the mayor or 2 council members or more, 2 or more council members. And so certainly as we've done in prior years, we've worked with administration, the clerk's office, and we've presented city council special meetings for budget. We never have had that many meetings. I always schedule extra meetings because it's easier if you guys get stuck during the budget or timelines change. It's easier to have scheduled meetings on the books to make notice requirements. It's easier to cancel them than to try to schedule them when we're in play. And so certainly if the code changes, when the code changes, the code change will take effect. So I don't know if that's clear as mud or not.
And I just wanted to make sure that the council's aware that there is a code change coming before them in April, so.
Okay, so moving on, there's no commission minutes. We are now at audience comments, a time for members of the public to share their views with the council. This is not a question and answer or a time for dialogue. Speakers may be referred to administration, or issues raised may be taken under advisement by the council or administration. Is there anyone present who would like to address the city council at this time?
Madam Mayor, before we move on, may I just make a note that under communications, we did still have the Airport Advisory Commission meeting minutes, February
Oh, sorry.
15th. That's okay. Just read that into the record. No action is required.
Okay, thank you. So is there anyone who would like to address the council at this time? Begin your testimony by stating your first and last name, and you have 3 minutes.
Yes, Mayor and Assembly people. Hearing from the public, I think, is pretty important for you to do, so don't try to discourage people from what they have to say. And when you people run for office and you've got platforms you use and you tell people you have conservative values, it'd be nice if you'd live up to them. By using taxpayer funds to push pornography and try to groom kids through the libraries, if that doesn't sit in your heart and know it's wrong, how could we possibly want to take a chance of harming any youth? There's no good that comes out of it. So just think about this and don't be afraid to act. Nobody's telling you that they can't have books, but using taxpayer money for pornography, there's got to be a better way. And it's your responsibility to the taxpayers to think of a better way that we do not harm our kids. Look at what happens to these kids down the road. Are they going to come back to the Wasilla Library and say that's where they were introduced to it? What's going to happen to the taxpayer then? The taxpayers need to be accountable, and you need to be accountable to the taxpayer and quit pushing this on kids. It's very simple. Thank you.
First Amendment right.
I'm Jackie Goforth again. In 1964, there was a Supreme Court decision, Sullivan versus New York Times. And in that, they said that sometimes conversations between constituents and the government is going to get very caustic, and it's going to get very ugly, and there's going to be some unpleasant things said unpleasantly. It could get volatile. And all that is what is expected to happen in a democracy. There's no way that you could shut that down. That's in a Supreme Court decision, Sullivan versus New York Times, 1964. There's another Supreme Court decision in 1973 called Miller versus California that defines exactly what obscenity is. It defines it. It does. And when it says harmful to children, the Anchorage Daily News article said that harmful to children meant that it was a community standard in the entire United States. That is not true. There were misleading and untruths and biased reporting in that entire article from what the attorney had said in Palmer. The standard for harmful to children has 3 prongs to it. Number 1 is it of prurient interest to cause prurient, does it entice the child to have sexual things, okay? And that is based on what the community finds. It isn't based on anybody else, the community, Wasilla. The second one is it offensive? Is it patently offensive? Is it patently offensive to the average adult citizen of the community? Of the community, not the United States as a whole, of the community. The third part is, does it have serious value? Does it have serious value in education, political, artistic, literary, there's another one, and for a child under 16. That one is based on United States standards, but they're subjective also. The other thing, I love how the Anchorage Daily News and everyone else keeps saying that the January 18th hearing that I had at the Mat-Su Borough over this book, Identical, which was attended by the public, devolved into chaos. I am so thrilled they keep saying that, because the only thing chaotic about it was when the people tried to speak and they were yelled at from the back by someone yelling, "You're out of order, you're out of order, you're out of order." That was the loudest voice in there. And then following that, once it quieted, you got 27 minutes on a Facebook live feed that is now on tape that shows exactly what the public, average citizen of the community thinks about this book, and that is now admissible evidence in court when this gets to court. That's exactly why I did that. That's exactly why I stood up, called that meeting, and took over so they wouldn't cut the mic and so I would get that video. And I will do it the next time too, so that I will get evidence for when this does get to court. And the reason it isn't there yet is because you cannot arrest for prostitution someone for loitering on the corner. You have to wait until the crime is committed. Thank you.
You have 3 minutes.
My name is Karen Lewis. Our leaders have to do better. You cannot have these obscene books in our public libraries, in our school libraries, and in our borough libraries. And there's almost 100 of them, 90-some plus in our area. And it's really sad and pathetic that it appears our leaders don't care that this obscenity is getting into the minds of our children and twisting them and making them think sex isn't something that was, how God designed it, beautiful, procreative, really awesome. It's a beautiful, binding, lovely thing. And what are in those books is filth. And if you haven't seen them, you should look. I mean, we've read, we'll still read, I hate reading them. I hate that. But how do we convince you to do something? If it comes to a lawsuit, that's gonna cost a lot of money. But if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. And people are winning these lawsuits. And there's a whole stack of them, as you saw, over 100 of them. They're lined up and ready to roll. They're going through the process. But they're gonna get these filthy books out of their libraries, and I expect our leaders to do the same. And if you don't, shame on you. When you didn't know Jackie was still here, you said, "Oh, Carmel will get her." For what? For doing the right thing? She's speaking for the children. You're defending the people who are allowing this filth in their hands. You are. What kind of leader is that? Not good, Glenda, not good. We need a good leader. We need good leaders in our community. Please do something about that. You can't just take the books that are in youth, and by the way, 14-year-olds are not young adults. They're listed YA, young adults. 14-year-olds, young adults, really. And then you stick an adult tag on them. That's just baloney. That's no answer. And they could check them out anyway if they wanted to. Do something that will protect their minds, Glenda. Do something. And if karma's gonna get anybody, it's gonna be you.
Thanks for the opportunity to speak again. I really appreciate all that you do and your willingness to listen to people. As somebody who has been very involved in the city of Wasilla since 2001, I have attended hundreds and hundreds of council meetings, and I know it's challenging because everybody does not agree on everything. So thank you for listening to everyone's opinions. The Friends of Wasilla Library are working with the Wasilla Library and the libraries in Anchorage, and we're bringing Glenda D, who is a writer she's an Indigenous writer who writes stories for 5th to 6th graders, and she's going to be coming as a part of our summer reading program. We're really excited to help sponsor that opportunity. We've just had such positive response when we've brought authors in the past, so we're super excited about that. Aspen Yarrow will be performing at the Wasilla Public Library for the first of what we hope is a series of music in the library events. Aspen Yarrow, her real name is Katie Heller. She's a teacher in Palmer. Every time I learn about one of these people in our valley that are so talented, it's one of the things that just makes me love the valley. It's just amazing. We're working with Josh Freifogel to have this performance, and in the next week we'll have information on how you can get tickets to attend this event, but I think it's going to be really special, really awesome opportunity. We're also working with a group called Lifetime Creative Arts. They are a national group that support programs for seniors in the library, and this group particularly has been working for the last couple years with folks in Western states to provide art for senior citizens. And so we're super excited about that. We'll have more information. We've met with them a couple times, and we have a couple meetings scheduled coming up. We're working with some groups around the valley that are artists and support art, and I think it's going to be a really positive, really great use of the library, and yeah, we just love bringing the community together. And so thank you. Hope you have a great night, and get out there and see some of those Arctic Winter Games. They're pretty amazing. I've already been to a couple, so it's awesome, and thanks to the city for your support. These kids are so excited, and it's really, really fun to see them, and to I heard a couple at the airport saying, this will be the first time I get to sleep in the United States of America. That's so cool. They were so looking forward to coming to a school and sleeping in a classroom, but that's okay. That's cool.
You have 3 minutes. I get 8 extra seconds. Daddy had been back to Kaylee for lollipop licking, my term, a few times. She had a vague notion that it was wrong, but she wasn't sure why and didn't know who to ask. They'd probably just be jealous. That warm summer night, she slept in a thin white nightie, nothing more, nothing at all under, the moon full, shimmering against the tan of her exposed skin, and her hair whispered over the pillow like a pale waterfall. As usual, the smell of wild turkey preceded Daddy. In the bright moonlight, you could see Kaylee cringe in shallow sleep. Daddy crept through the door to the side of her bed, stood looking down for a very long time before stirring her with a volley of kisses. Cheeks, forehead, lips. Oh, little girl, do you know how beautiful you are? No one was ever as lovely as you, not even your mother when she was a child. I can't believe you're mine. Kaylee, roused at his words, came into the moment, secure in the aura of Daddy's love. She tried to sit up, but Daddy pushed her gently back down against the mattress. Stay just like that for Daddy. I want to teach you something new. He lifted her nightgown, rolled it up over her belly, coaxed her thoroughbred legs apart. She squirmed, a paltry protest. Don't move. Daddy's scarlet face underlined his command. I thought he might smack her, but as quickly as his anger flared, it dissipated. Smoke. Don't be afraid. This won't hurt. You'll like it. I promise. He kissed the length of her torso down to the small naked V. It was only his mouth that night. He didn't even ask her to touch him, prove how much she loved him. Afterward, she worried. Didn't he want her love anymore? What had she done wrong? And yet he had taught her something new, something awful. This is another page. Worse, something wonderful, something every girl should know the joy of, though, of course, she shouldn't learn it from Daddy. At 10, it isn't exactly easy to separate good touch from bad touch, proper love from improper love, doting Daddy from pervert. You know, this is in the Identity, the Challenged book that's in the youth section at your library. Really, people? You want us to pay for this? You want us to pay our taxes? We've always been faithful taxpayers, no problem. This is ridiculous.
Seeing no one else, we will close audience comments and bring it back to the dais. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Interview questions for our vacancy, Council Seat A. If you have any, please get those to me as soon as you can so I can get them compiled and then reviewed. And then if there's any legal issues or anything like that, I can work with you to amend the question. Per policy, 2 questions per council member. So I did send you an email. You have the list of the 6 questions that were asked the last time. So those would be a good starting place. And I don't know for the sake of the audience or if anybody can see, but the council were given really nice jackets as a sponsor of the Arctic Winter Games. I just want to state for the record, under our code of ethics, those are less than $75 in value. They're an occasional gift, and so those are permissible in my opinion. And then we will see you all here on the 18th, 6 o'clock, and that's when I will present the clerk records management and council budgets for the upcoming fiscal year. So that's all I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. City Attorney.
Nothing from me. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Johnson.
No comment, Mayor.
Councilmember Rubio.
Thank you, Mayor. Really don't have much other than I did get to see a few of the videos of the open meeting ceremony. It looked awesome. So thank you to the city for all of that hard work. And I will see you guys on Monday.
Okay. Councilmember Graham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thanks everybody for being here. You know, part of government and part of representing the people means you represent everyone, which means you listen to everyone. But that also means that everyone has the right and the responsibility to speak civilly. You know, I've never heard anybody win an argument by yelling and shouting and saying names. So, you know, I know I'm speaking to the wrong people here, but, you know, I fully understand and support people's indignation over various things, but when trying to convince folks to do things, it's, you know, I mean, go back to high school debate class. I mean, you'll learn that it's not, you know, yelling and screaming isn't going to do any good. As a matter of fact, it actually costs you points. But I, you know, getting back to the main thing, I appreciate everybody's being here, and I appreciate hearing things, even though sometimes you hear the same thing over and over, the same excerpts from the same book. So I'm hearing a bunch of distaste, but I'm not hearing any proposed solutions. It's easier to work with proposed solutions than it is to work with emotions. So if you or anyone has proposed solutions, I would, you know, love to hear them. You know, I may not agree with them, but that's okay. I would love to hear them because without a framework or a cornerstone for those solutions, it's hard to make the building stand. But so I certainly appreciate everyone's being here. I'm sure everybody has been around town and has seen the groups of Arctic Winter Games participants wandered around town. You know, some of them staying at the local schools here, which is great. You see them in the restaurants, you see them in the stores, you see them walking around town, just enjoying this incredibly unseasonal weather. So they're having a good time, they're enjoying themselves, and if you have a chance to say hi to them, you know, or buy them an Arby's roast beef sandwich for some reason, that seems to be a big hit. But, you know, please do so. I mean, we're a very welcoming community, and we're very lucky to have these folks here. You know, we probably won't see them here again for another 20 years, so let's take advantage of this and make it work and make this certainly a memorable event. And if you haven't been to any of the events, you know, it doesn't matter whether you're interested in the Eskimo high kick or, you know, indoor soccer, it doesn't matter what you're interested in, just go by and just see the energy of these kids. It's amazing, you know, and they're not really organized sports teams like you're used to seeing. I mean, these are just kids coming together under volunteers and having a good time, meeting other folks that live in the same, circumpolar region that they live in, and getting to do things. So this is truly a great thing. I'm glad the city's supporting it. I'm glad the Matsu Borough has stepped up and poured in tremendous amounts of support and resources into the Arctic Winter Games. And I look forward to seeing you guys at some of the events. I don't know which ones I'll be going to in the future. I just look at the schedule every day and see what fits, and it's always great to see the kids there, and it's even better to see the community there. I also had one question for our Public Works Director. The minutes of the Airport Advisory Commission talked about an airport rate study. Director Shaw spoke to the rate study, which is on hold. Is that on hold for a specific amount of time? Is it on hold for waiting for more information? Could you speak to why it would be on hold?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So initially the discussion about rates came up as we talked about expansion and the financial stability of the airport. And so the commission worked through their review of what they thought rates should be compared to regional, nearby, similar airports, and they came up with their suggestions. As part of the master plan, one of the sub-consultants was providing a review of our financial statement for the airport as well. And so we wanted to pause because the rates will come in front of the council. So we felt that we needed to have multi-data points of what the advisory commission thought were reasonable rates, what the financial review from the master plan came through. The next step in the master plan is to come up with the list of projects as the public and as the council come forward with ideas. And so the last piece, as I see bringing value for that discussion, is to look at we've selected a program called Waterworth or Muniworth that helps us identify what rate changes would do for the account balance and for the funding availability for projects, and we're still building that out. So I see it being a three-phase approach. What the advisory commission sees as reasonable rates, what the consultant put together in the master planning process for the rate structure and what we see for revenue, and then also having that tool ready and built so that when rates are proposed, we can show in real time how that would improve the financial stability of the airport. So I want to get that third phase ready to show to you, and then we can discuss those numbers, and the council has immediate information to make long-term decisions for the rates.
Okay, great. Thank you. And one last question for the chief of police. I really appreciate the weekly crime bulletins that I've been getting for years and years. But lately I've come to kind of question, what does code compliance mean on there? Is that code compliance call-outs via MATCOM? Is that
Councilman Graham, to the mayor, I'm not, what did you ask? I didn't catch the first part.
I'm just asking what the catch-all phrase code compliance encompasses. And if you're unaware of that, that's fine. If you could bring it back to the next meeting and let me know a little bit more. I mean, total citations is pretty obvious. Total arrest is pretty obvious. But then there's one catch-all that just says code compliance.
What are you referencing to? I'm not tracking.
Weekly crime bulletin produced by the Wasilla Police Department. Could we find that out next week or whenever we meet again? Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Crafton?
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to thank everybody for coming out. And again, Arctic Winter Games this week, so get out and enjoy it. Thanks all for being here. We'll see you on Monday.
Okay. If any of you didn't get to see the opening ceremony of the Arctic Winter Games, you really, really missed a time when the city, the borough, all of us, we put our best foot forward, and it really, really shone. I had breakfast this morning with the International Committee, and they couldn't say enough good things and enough kudos to the Menard Center and to the police department about how well everything flowed, the traffic flowed, there's no backup. whatever, and about how good everything was there. So we're really proud of the Menard Center and their staff and our police department. Couldn't be more prouder of what Wasilla has rolled out for all of these other nations to see. And like Stu and Ian said, if you've not been, please go and check out at least one event, because these kids, there was, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's what, 2,000 kids?
2,000 athletes, correct.
Just athletes. These kids over there, you know, and the excitement and stuff, man, it was really awesome. So get out and see these kids and let them know we appreciate them making the effort to be here and whatever. And other than that, if there is no further business at hand, I am adjourning the meeting at 6:51 p.m.